If you're over 75 and feel like your strength is quietly slipping away, no matter how carefully you eat, you're not imagining it. And what I'm about to share may completely change how you look at protein. So stay with me because later you'll see why one simple forgotten seed may work differently inside the aging body than steak, eggs, or shakes ever could. As we age, the body becomes less responsive to protein in a process researchers often call anabolic resistance. A concept widely discussed in aging research and referenced in medical literature available through PubMed and educational resources from institutions like the NIH and Harvard Health. Think of your muscles like a factory that used to respond quickly to raw materials. At 40, you send in protein and the doors open wide, but after 75, the doors only open halfway. So even if you eat the same amount, the signal to rebuild muscle isn't as strong. In a moment, I'll explain why this matters for daily independence. But first, understand that this isn't about fear. It's about awareness. According to the NIH and broader geriatric health guidance, muscle mass naturally declines with age, and the CDC emphasizes that strength and balance are directly tied to fall prevention and long-term mobility. Later, you'll see why this connects directly to digestion, why most proteins fail for seniors, not just diet. Many older adults make a common mistake. They focus only on total grams of protein and overlook absorption, inflammation, sleep quality, and physical activity, which organizations like the Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic consistently highlight as foundational pillars of healthy aging. Your digestive system also changes over time. Stomach acid levels may decline, chewing may become less efficient, and gut bacteria diversity can shift, all of which can influence how nutrients are broken down and used. Imagine pouring premium fuel into an engine with clogged filters. The quality may be good, but delivery is compromised. That's why simply eating more meat or adding another scoop of powder doesn't always translate to more strength. In a moment, I'll explain how certain plant-based foods may interact differently with the body signaling pathways, but it's important to say this clearly. This information is for general educational purposes and is not a substitute for personalized medical advice, especially if you have chronic conditions or dietary restrictions. So always consult your healthcare professional before making significant changes. Later, you'll understand why muscle health is not just about size, but about nerve signaling, blood flow, sleep cycles, and inflammation control. The WHO and NHS both emphasize that healthy aging depends on movement, balanced nutrition, and lifestyle patterns working together, not one single superfood. So, as we continue, keep this in mind. We are not chasing extremes. We are optimizing how your body uses what you already eat. And what comes next may surprise you because the real issue isn't the protein itself. It's how your body responds to it. Here's where things get interesting, because when we talk about protein after 75, we're really talking about communication inside the body, not just nutrition. And in a moment, you'll see why certain seeds may send a different kind of signal to aging muscle cells. Muscle growth and maintenance rely on a pathway often discussed in scientific literature as the mTOR signaling pathway, which you can explore through research indexed on PubMed and educational summaries from the NIH. Think of mTOR like a light switch for muscle repair. When it's flipped on appropriately through adequate amino acids and resistance movement, your body shifts into rebuilding mode. But with science behind 16x better protein age, that switch becomes less sensitive, almost like a dimmer that needs a stronger stimulus. Later, you'll understand why this sensitivity issue is why some older adults eat well yet still feel weaker year after year. According to Harvard Health and the Mayo Clinic, aging muscles require not just protein, but also supportive nutrients like magnesium, zinc, and omega-3 fatty acids to optimize how protein is used. That's where certain seeds begin to stand out, not because they contain extreme amounts of protein, but because they come packaged with these coactors that support the metabolic environment around muscle cells. Imagine trying to build a house. Protein is the brick, but minerals are the workers and healthy fats are the transportation system. Without all three, construction slows down. In a moment, I'll explain how inflammation quietly interferes with this process. But first, understand another key piece: digestion. The Cleveland Clinic notes that digestive efficiency can decline with age due to changes in stomach acid and enzyme production. If protein isn't fully broken down into amino acids, the signal to muscle tissue weakens. Some seeds contain proteins that are easier to digest alongside fiber that supports gut health, which the NIH recognizes as closely linked to nutrient absorption and immune balance. Later, you'll see why gut bacteria may indirectly influence muscle strength. Now let's address a common mistake people make: relying heavily on processed protein bars or shakes without considering overall dietary patterns. The CDC and WHO consistently emphasize whole food patterns, regular movement, and sleep quality as core elements of healthy aging. Poor sleep alone, as highlighted by the NIH, can impair muscle recovery and hormone balance. Chronic low-grade inflammation, a topic frequently discussed in peer-reviewed aging research on PubMed, can blunt the muscle-building response even when protein intake appears adequate. This is why combining nutrient-dense foods with light resistance exercise, adequate hydration, and stress management creates a stronger overall signal to preserve lean mass. In a moment, we'll look more closely at how specific nutrients found in certain seeds may influence inflammation and metabolic signaling. Benefits for muscle and strength. But before we go there, remember this: the goal isn't eating more. It's improving how your body uses what you eat. And what comes next connects directly to how inflammation and cellular stress shape strength after 75. Now let's talk about something most people overlook completely: inflammation. And in a moment, you'll see why this may be the hidden reason strength declines, even when protein intake looks adequate on paper. As we age, the body tends to shift into a state researchers often describe as low-grade chronic inflammation, sometimes called inflammaging, a concept widely discussed in aging research. Indexed through PubMed and supported by educational materials from the NIH and WH. Think of inflammation like a small fire that never fully goes out. It's not dramatic, but it constantly burns in the background, subtly interfering with muscle repair, joint comfort, and recovery after movement. Later, you'll understand why this matters more than the total grams of protein on your plate. According to Harvard Health and the Mayo Clinic, chronic inflammation can blunt the body's anabolic response, meaning muscle tissue doesn't rebuild as efficiently even when adequate nutrients are present. Imagine trying to repair a wall while someone keeps gently pushing against it. Progress happens, but slowly and inconsistently. That's what ongoing inflammation can do inside aging muscle cells. In a moment, I'll explain how certain nutrients help calm that internal environment. But first, consider another common mistake: focusing only on calories and ignoring dietary quality. The CDC and NHS both emphasize dietary patterns rich in whole foods, fiber, and healthy fats for long-term health, not isolated macronutrients. Many older adults unintentionally consume more refined carbohydrates and processed foods than they realize, which can contribute to blood sugar fluctuations. Research available through PubMed shows that unstable blood sugar can increase oxidative stress and inflammatory signaling, which indirectly affects muscle tissue over time. Later, you'll see why steady energy matters for preserving independence. Certain seeds are naturally rich in omega-3 fatty brain and energy boosting effects acids, magnesium, zinc, and plant antioxidants, all of which have been studied for their role in supporting a balanced inflammatory response. The NIH has published extensive educational resources discussing how omega-3 fatty acids influence cell membrane function and signaling pathways related to inflammation. Think of omega-3s like oil in a machine. They don't build the machine, but they reduce friction so everything runs smoother. Magnesium, frequently highlighted by the Cleveland Clinic for its role in muscle and nerve function, also supports relaxation and sleep quality, which are critical for overnight muscle recovery. Poor sleep, as noted in NIH sleep research, can elevate inflammatory markers and impair tissue repair. Here's another mistake people make: avoiding gentle resistance exercise because of fear of injury. The WHO and CDC consistently stress that age-appropriate strength training supports muscle preservation and reduces fall risk. Movement itself helps regulate inflammatory pathways and improves insulin sensitivity. So the real strategy isn't just adding a seed to your diet. It's combining nutrient-dense foods, consistent light strength training, restorative sleep, and stress management. In a moment, we'll explore how digestion and the gut microbiome influence this entire process, because what happens in your gut may determine how effectively these nutrients reach your muscles. Now, let's shift to something even more overlooked than inflammation: your gut. Because in a moment you'll see why digestion may quietly determine whether protein helps you or simply passes through unused. As we age, changes occur in stomach acid production, digestive enzyme output, and the diversity of gut bacteria, all of which are discussed in aging and gastrointestinal research available through PubMed and educational materials from institutions like the NIH and Cleveland Clinic. Think of your digestive system as the processing plant that breaks down food into usable building blocks. If that plant slows down or becomes less efficient, even high-quality protein cannot be fully converted into the amino acids your muscles need. Later, you'll understand why this directly connects to energy, levels, and stability. According to Heart and Bone Health Advantages, Harvard Health and the Mayo Clinic, healthy gut bacteria play a role in nutrient absorption, immune balance, and even metabolic signaling. Fiber-rich foods, particularly those containing soluble fiber, act as fuel for beneficial bacteria, producing compounds called short-chain fatty acids that support intestinal integrity and may influence systemic inflammation. Imagine your gut lining like a protective barrier. When supported properly, nutrients cross efficiently into the bloodstream, but when compromised, absorption becomes inconsistent. In a moment, I'll explain why this matters specifically for muscle preservation after 75. Certain seeds contain both plant protein and significant amounts of fiber, creating a slower digestion pattern that can lead to steadier amino acid availability rather than sharp spikes and crashes. Research indexed through PubMed suggests that gradual nutrient release may support a more sustained anabolic response, especially in older adults who experience anabolic resistance. Later, you'll see why pairing protein with fiber and healthy fats may enhance metabolic efficiency. A common mistake many seniors make is eating large protein-heavy meals without considering digestive comfort, hydration, or chewing thoroughly. The NHS and CDC both emphasize balanced meal patterns and adequate hydration as foundational health habits. Dehydration alone can impair digestion and muscle performance, yet many older adults unintentionally reduce fluid intake. Another overlooked factor is sleep. The NIH highlights that the gut microbiome and sleep cycles influence one another, meaning irregular sleep patterns can alter bacterial balance, which may indirectly affect nutrient utilization. So the strategy becomes layered. Support digestion through whole foods rich in fiber. Include gentle daily movement to stimulate gut motility. Prioritize sleep consistency and reduce chronic stress, which the WHO identifies as a factor influencing digestive function. Stress hormones can alter gut permeability and microbial balance, subtly interfering with nutrient absorption. In a moment, we'll connect this digestive foundation to specific lifestyle patterns that amplify how your body responds to protein overall. Because the real advantage isn't in one food alone. It's in how daily habits create the right internal environment. How to incorporate this seed daily for strength to be maintained over time. Now, we need to connect everything to daily life, because in a moment, you'll see why routine matters just as much as nutrition when it comes to preserving strength after 75. Muscle tissue doesn't respond to food alone. It responds to stimulus, recovery, circulation, and hormonal signals all working together. According to the CDC and WHO, regular strength-focused movement is one of the most effective lifestyle strategies for maintaining independence in older adults. Think of muscle like a rechargeable battery. If you don't use it, the charge slowly drains no matter how well you eat. Later, you'll understand why even light resistance can amplify how your body uses protein. Research indexed through PubMed consistently shows that combining adequate protein intake with resistance training produces a stronger anabolic response than nutrition alone, especially in older adults experiencing anabolic resistance. Harvard Health and the Mayo Clinic both emphasize that simple activities like chair rises, wall push-ups, resistance bands, and controlled walking can stimulate muscle fibers safely when done consistently. In a moment, I'll explain why timing and sleep also matter. A common mistake people make is waiting until they feel weak before beginning strength activity or assuming it's too late to benefit. The NIH highlights that muscle tissue retains adaptability well into advanced age when appropriately stimulated. Another mistake is focusing only on formal exercise while remaining sedentary the rest of the day. The final tips for maximum results. Cleveland Clinic often discusses the risks of prolonged sitting, which can impair circulation and insulin sensitivity. Think of circulation as a delivery system. Nutrients cannot nourish muscle effectively if blood flow is sluggish. Later, you'll see why short, frequent movement breaks can be just as powerful as longer sessions. Sleep is another overlooked pillar. The NIH and NHS both emphasize that deep sleep supports growth hormone release and tissue repair. Poor sleep increases inflammatory markers and can disrupt appetite regulation, indirectly affecting muscle maintenance. Stress also plays a role. The WHO identifies chronic stress as a contributor to metabolic imbalance, elevated stress. Hormones over time may interfere with muscle repair and immune resilience. In a moment, I'll connect this to practical patterns you can apply daily. Balanced meals spaced evenly, gentle strength training several times per week, regular walking for circulation, consistent sleep schedules, and stress-reducing practices like breathing exercises or social engagement all create a physiological environment where protein is more effectively used. Another common mistake is chasing extreme diets or cutting calories too aggressively, which Harvard Health warns can accelerate muscle loss in older adults. Sustainable habits outperform short bursts of intensity. So, when certain nutrient-dense seeds are added into this broader framework, they work as part of a system, not as isolated solutions. And next, we'll bring everything together to clarify how to approach this safely and realistically moving forward.